What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 164 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. Today, Kris and I are very excited. We're going to be talking about the future. What is it going to look like to launch products and scale products on Amazon in 2022? And we got the perfect guest, Kris, for this. We got Jon Tilley from ZonGuru on with us. What's up, Jon?
What's up, guys? I'm excited, man. I've been following you guys for a while, and it's good to be on the show. And we obviously airing live, so we can talk about the present right now. We're in building up to the holidays, Thanksgiving next year, thinking about the future, and it's a good time. It's a good time to talk about Amazon.
Yeah, no doubt. And we met you in person at a meetup in Austin for the first time. It's a great time. It's so fun to meet everybody. Saw your presentation. It's a great presentation. But it was really fun just to chatting and talking shop. And now we've learned a lot more about you and ZonGuru, and we're excited. So I think before we even jump into all that, for anybody who's listening right now who doesn't know you or doesn't know ZonGuru, you got the floor for a few minutes. We'd love to hear sort of your background, how you got into the space, and all the fun things you're doing over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take a few minutes on that. I'll be quick. But I think the first thing is connecting with you guys in Austin. I think it's that you find that as an Amazon seller, when you connect with people who are like-minded, who have the same kind of like passion and focus around Amazon, and it is a good space to be in. And I've been there, and I've been there for a while, similar to you guys. I went and launched on Amazon back in 20. I think it was 2014 or somewhere around there. I'll get to that in a second, but essentially my background is, I was in advertising for many years. I think about 13 to 15 years in advertising as a kind of account director, some of the blue chip big agencies, and very successful, great career. But I always had that FOMO to start my own business, and had kind of come close on a few times. But I think, especially when you're in a big career, making that massive leap to something that maybe you need funding for or something like that was quite a stretch, until I ran into Amazon and followed that typical path of building a brand while I still had my day gig, and launched that and was pretty successful with that, which got me out of my 9 to 5. That story of packing up your bags with a smile on your face and leaving the office was awesome. I've definitely got that picture still, which is great. So that was back in 2014, 2015. I still have multiple brands that I sell on Amazon. But at that time, saw the opportunity on the services side and the gaps around data and most importantly, kind of visualizing data from a true business perspective. I think it's even true today. I think data is data, but it's really what you do with that data. How do you make that relevant to solve real problems for Amazon sellers in a timely manner, so that you can make the right decisions for your business? I think that's where I saw the opportunity, and using some of my kind of skills and experience from advertising and some software stuff that we had been doing there, and applied that to ZonGuru. So that was the start of ZonGuru. We now have 17 different tools in 10 different marketplaces, mainly North America, Australia, India, and Australia and Europe. Sorry, is the marketplaces we're connected with. And I've just built an awesome business with an awesome team. From the get-go, we've kind of incentivized our team to also be sellers on Amazon. So we have at least 50% of our team are selling on Amazon or building up to selling. So they truly understand, again, what are the problems that we need to solve. How do we visualize that data? How do we make it relevant so that we can really make the right decision and move forward with our business? So that's ZonGuru in a nutshell. I'm based in Los Angeles, South Africa originally, which is the accents, but it's stuck with me. So that's my story, man. And just still very passionate about helping people not only launch on Amazon but scale their business on Amazon and beyond. I think is critical. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity for all of us, and I still stand behind it. It's amazing.
Well, you're right. It is an amazing opportunity, and the story of you always hear you can quit your job, you can do this, but you did it. I remember I quit my job, and that was a great feeling. You're like, wow, I really built something. So there is that ability to build these these businesses that can support you and your family. It makes it a lot of fun. It makes it fun also to be a part of a community where you get to tell these stories with everybody and talk and go through like the different pitfalls and challenges. And one thing that I like, because Kris and I talk about this a lot, if you're in the space, if you're doing this daily, you're running your own business, you know how this landscape changes constantly. And if you're in it, you know it, and you speak the lingo. And that's why it's intriguing about you incentivizing or encouraging a lot of your employees who work with you to be to have their own businesses, their own Amazon business. I mean, there's got to be so much that you get out of that. They probably come all the time. This would really help me out, and then you can develop off of that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I think another aspect on that, it's kind of like a softer secondary, I guess, selfish value that I put on myself as a business leader and an owner is, you get a lot of satisfaction out of the culture you create within your company, but more importantly, what value you can give to the people's lives that work for you, right? I think that's, at least in my world, that's really important as a business owner. It's like you're literally creating this environment for people to improve their skills and improve their life. And it's really satisfying to have, coming from someone who's got a little bit more experience in life, and some of these young people coming to work for you, is like, I understand there's a responsibility from my perspective to ensure that people, they spend their time working for ZonGuru. It might be 5 years, it might be more. And what is that life arc going to be for them, right? Have they got the ability to get in and learn and improve their skills 100%, improve their position, improve their pay 100%. But, if they can add that Amazon aspect to their lives and actually build a product-based business that can truly scale their wealth and financial well-being beyond, within ZonGuru and beyond, that's a really cool place to be. And it's saying, hey, you're doing something amazing with the time that you have on this planet, one working towards really truly being like financially free, and that opportunity with Amazon is insane. So I do get a lot of satisfaction out of not only solving problems for Amazon sellers in that space, but just giving people the ability to say, hey, I support you in your life growth with ZonGuru, and hopefully a little bit beyond, and hopefully we can make an impact there. So that's pretty cool. And I think the other piece, to your point, is just being part of the community, which is beyond ZonGuru, it's ZonGuru's customers, right? And seeing what they do in the space. And of course, there's always those questions like, oh, is Amazon too crazy, too much money, too many brands? But every day there's new people who are just crushing it. We have one guy who's a ZonGuru customer, who we've trained up for a few years. I was involved with him right on the conception of his product. And that was maybe 2.5 years ago. And he just sold his brand to one of the aggregators for over $1 million. The kid is 16 years old, it's like, race, religion, country, education level, none of that stuff matters when it comes to Amazon. It's just the ability to be curious, to apply yourself, to learn from the best, to learn from the people that are, information is available at your fingertips, and just apply that consistently, and you can literally create something amazing. And imagine being 16 years old and selling something for $1 million. Like, where does that put you for the next rest of your life?
It's cool. That kid's probably going to be around and probably gonna have a new product sometime soon. We're probably going to see him in the space years from now, launching something. But you got a neat perspective, because you were in the physical space, you're doing products, and you were launching products on Amazon, but you also created a software platform. So how do those two like overlap? Is there any like similarities, like running a SaaS company versus like a physical products company? Like, did you have to take anything that you were doing with Amazon and put it into your ZonGuru like business? Like, is there some overlap there?
I think the main overlap is just the process that you need to follow in order to scale a business, right? Definitely with software, it's a big business, but more importantly, you're building it for scalability, right? And to truly grow massively over the next few years, and what is important in that is the ability to obviously have a vision, but to create SOPs, standard operating procedures for every aspect of the business, so that your team members can engage. How do you direct them? How do you create something that can grow beyond you just as an individual? And that's definitely very applicable to your Amazon business, and that's kind of taking that step. I think I always say people think it's so hard to launch a product on Amazon, but that's actually one of the easiest pieces in the puzzle, because to take something which is a good start, which is maybe launching a product on Amazon, but actually creating into a brand and something that is a scalable business, that takes discipline, that takes a lot of business knowledge, and education and consistent application to your business. And that's what we do in our software business as well, right? And there's definitely many similarities, relying on numbers, and a whole bunch of stuff there. So I think that's the biggest similarity.
Yeah, that's a good point there. It is, and I think to touch on that point, that's something that has changed, at least in the Amazon space. The Amazon business starting it has changed dramatically from when we started. When we started, you could just find a product that's sellable. You could get almost anything. You could throw it up there. You could launch it. Branding was semi-important, but not really. People were just shopping and buying stuff. So, I remember I would do this product, and then I would do this product. They're not even related. And I would name them different brands. And so, but now to be more successful, or to be like this 16-year-old kid who sold from it, you really have to do a lot more than just launch products and scale them. You have to create a full brand. You have to, be driving traffic to many different spots. It might not just be Amazon centric. It could be your own Shopify, Walmart, everywhere else. So there's a lot that's, I think, changed in this space, which brings us to what we're going to talk about. Like, if you're going to start right now, if you're going to launch in 2022, there's different tactics that you need to take than sort of we did. So we can talk a little bit more on that. What are you seeing for anyone who's starting right now? What sort of steps they need to take now to be successful in 2022?
Yeah, I think at a high level, it is harder to launch right now and be successful on Amazon. But that was the same story that we were hearing when we started in 2014, right? Sure. It's always easier before, right? Right. But what I need to caveat that with, and it's a similar story to when we launched, is the e-commerce landscape is growing off the charts, right? And we're still got so much growth and so much ahead of us that even though it becomes harder in a lot of ways, there's still massive opportunity that's still growing and growing more. It's just about your understanding of the marketplaces, understanding of what people are doing, and how you apply that knowledge, right? It's the same thing. So, going into the new year, into 2022, yes, I think before the focus was, hey, how do I get a product live on Amazon? That's my goal, get live. And then we just kind of roll with it from there, right? Whereas now, I think even with the amount of education that's out there, I think you've got to plan your journey at least a year out from your launch, right? So that when you go live, I can't take my foot off the gas. I've got to keep applying it, and I've got to apply it in this way and structurally build to a place where I've got a super consistent business that I've grown and taken those key steps beyond just the initial launch. Because I think back in those days, Amazon was looking for new products. Hey, great, you live, we'll support you, we'll go there. Now, they especially in .com, they're much more picky. Hey, yes, you've got a great product, you live, but are you staying in stock? What are you doing? Are you brand registered? Have you built your trademark? All of these kind of steps to show that you are a valid business that needs support. So I think you need to plan beyond just your initial launch and understand what that roadmap looks like. So that's number one. I would say on top of that it's really important, especially for the guys who are looking to launch, is not to get overwhelmed by that process, right? Mm-hmm. It's that kind of fundamental balance between educating yourself so much and thinking it through so much that you're thinking too far down the road and you're putting obstacles in your way to taking action, right? Versus understanding what that roadmap is, maybe planning it out to a degree, but then really focusing on what it is you actually have to do right now and not worrying about what comes down the road. I kind of call it a milestone approach. And that's really important. It's probably the best skill that I learned when launching on Amazon, which is how to just focus on your immediate task right now and not worry about what's going to come out down the road. So that's the approach I would say going into 2022. And then there's obviously ways of how do you look for products and again, tapping into that new opportunity, the new areas that are just coming about because the market is becoming more and more seasoned, right? And I think that's something we can talk about too.
So product research is like the main focus when you launch on Amazon. Like if you get the wrong product, you could think this is all a scam and you'll quit. But there's tools out there, and yours is one of them, that focus on helping sellers find their next product to launch. There's also I'll just put like a black cloud in the space that people say don't use software to find products because they're all doing the same thing. They're just presenting it differently. Why is it important? Why is it important to use a software to find a product? What does that do for you when you use a product, when you use a software to find your potential next product?
Yeah. I always say this, like using software is at most 50% of your solution, right? The other 50% is what do you do with that information? What is your business security, your entrepreneurial smarts? How do you take that as a softer skill and say, okay, I have the data. Now what do I do with it? What are the decisions I make, right? So it's always 50% of the solution or 50% of the equation, whatever we say, right? But absolutely, fundamentally, you need data to give you that baseline so you can make informed decisions, right? And that's what data does, especially in Amazon.com. I mean, if you're looking for a product on Amazon.com, you need data to be able to kind of peel back the layers to find very specific niches that still have opportunity for new sellers who maybe don't have as much capital. Like those opportunities are there, but you have to understand if we take a niche or a market, what are some key breakdowns of that data so that I can say, okay, this is worthwhile going after, and I'm going to spend my next 6 months focusing on how to make this better, using my entrepreneurial smarts, my business savviness to make this insane, amazing product. But I've based it on like a quality platform of data so that I don't waste my time 6 months down the road and go like, oh, I didn't think about that, did I? Right? So that's the purpose of data. And again, it's kind of coupling that with the 80-20 rule, right? It's so easy in this business as Amazon to get the naysayers or to get someone who just like starts picking on like the little 20% of like, hey, Amazon's too expensive to get into, or, it's so competitive. Whereas like you have to, as an entrepreneur, flip that and think about the 80% of what is the big opportunity that's out there. And it's the same thing with data. Yes, some data is similar across different platforms. Some of them are estimations on certain pieces, but if something's estimating 50,000 a month, but the actual number is 51,000 a month, is it wrong or is it right? It's right. It's giving you the right guideline, right? So it's all of those kind of things that you constantly have to battle with people on to get them to change their mindset into focusing on what are the impactful things to be an entrepreneur. Absolutely, data as a baseline is critical, and making sure that we present it with in a relevant way so that you're making a decision on the right stuff. That's the critical piece about various different softwares.
I agree. I think you could do this if you do this in the dark and you don't know really what you're doing and you just pick a product and you launch it. If you don't have the right data, you're kind of just going blindly and not really knowing what you're doing. But you did mention earlier about just getting into the space, just do something, because there's really no roadmap, right? There's steps that we all take along the way, listing creation, photos and all that. But like what you guys are going to experience is going to be different than what I experience, and what you experience, I may not experience. So just getting in there and launching a product. Why is that? I mean, what's that important for? What does that do? Because a lot of us get analysis by paralysis, right? Like or paralysis by analysis, whatever that saying is. But you look at the data, you listen to podcasts, you watch videos, and you just never do it. In your experience, what have you seen there?
It's so interesting. And if I take myself back maybe 12, 13 years, and I'm sure you guys had similar thoughts in your business journey or your, kind of how you're building your career. But I always remember back in that when I had entrepreneurial FOMO, I was just like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I was looking at people who are my age, who are making millions of dollars or whatever. And I'm like, this guy is so stupid. How the hell does he create such an amazing business? Like this guy doesn't, I mean, I speak to him, he can't, whatever, you kind of have that philosophy and you're like, how the hell did this guy do so well when he just doesn't have he doesn't seem like a smart guy.
He doesn't have the street smarts. He doesn't have,
right. Yeah. You're like, what the hell's going on? And what, you're like, what did they have that I didn't have? And sometimes it's because you educate yourself, but you overanalyze it. Right. And it's that when I started my Amazon journey, I came from an advertising marketing background. I was like, great. Here's my marketing plan. I've put together this business plan because everyone's like, well, if you're going to do something, you have to have a business plan. And so I'm like planning for like my Facebook advertising and this and that and like all these things like a year after I would even launch a product, and you get overwhelmed in a second, right? And that's the balance between having an overall plan, but understanding that the best thing you can do for your success is just to take actionable steps and be consistent in your action. No matter what, if you fail, you learn or whatever, you need to take actionable steps, right? So that was my biggest kind of stumbling block, is I wasn't, I had to unlearn the process of thinking too far ahead and just go, hey, I've kind of planned that out, but here's my roadmap. Next 10 months. Right now, all I need to do is this week, I have to pick a product. If I don't pick a product this week, all that other stuff's not going to happen. So you really focus in on taking that step. And if you don't achieve it that week, what do you do to get that done and get it achieved? Mm-hmm. So I think that's the balance that we need to look like. And yes, absolutely. The best way to get your success there is to get something live on Amazon. Mm-hmm. I say that with a pinch of salt there, because I've also seen a lot of people who aren't sure how to create a business, and maybe they haven't educated themselves well enough in the Amazon space, and they just want to get something live on Amazon, and they do that and they learn a whole bunch by getting live on Amazon, which is great, but it's not really a successful product, and they kind of like labor on with it for the next 6 months. And I'm like, well, if you'd just done your homework up front better, you might have launched something that would have been way more success. So there's always a balance, right? You've got to, yes, you have to get live, but you need to be curious. You need to consume education, and you need to use that to make decisions. So yeah, I think one last thing, just coming back to your point on data, it's absolutely true, even to your Amazon business, but even to ZonGuru, it's an emotional ride, right? As a CEO or an owner of a business, there's certain specific decisions you have to make, which are massively emotional. Should I kill this product today because I'm not doing well? But you've invested all your blood, sweat, and tears into that product, right? Should I go into this marketplace? How do I scale my brand? And everything, no matter what, whether it's software or literally taking a pen and putting it on paper, everything boils down to numbers. And that helps to take the emotion out, is you've got to put your numbers down and ensure that makes sense. And so when you're launching a product on Amazon, looking at the data from software that can give you the confidence to go, hey, you know what? I'm not going to just buy 100 units and just test this on Amazon, because that's an easy way out sometimes. And, people do that. But like, hey, I'm actually going to buy 2,000 units and I'm going to go all in right now. And I've got a plan because I know this thing is going to be a hit. That's the difference of what, looking at the data can help take that emotion out and make sure you're making a decision based on kind of an accurate assessment of the market opportunity.
So I want to add some real quick, Dustin. So using like tools to do product research, I just want to see something with no pictures and no words. Just give me the data, and then I'll make my decision on what product I want to launch based on the data. Because from my perspective, when I see the photos there and I see the keywords, that immediately triggers like an emotion to it, right? Mm-hmm. And then you start to like say, well, I can make this work, right? Because I can make this product work, but the data is right there in front of you. I almost want to like hide all photos, hide all keywords, and show me just the raw data, and then go from there. And then whatever I get, that's what we're going after, because the data right there.
It's totally true. Like one of the things that we try and teach some of our newbies who are launching is to step the process, right? It's like, yes, there's a really important aspect of looking at the images, right? But that's really about differentiation, which comes later on in your process of decision making. So I always try and like get them to do a simple Excel sheet and go, hey, this week just pick 20 products based on the data, like these 3 data points. Don't even think further than that. Just put them down on a sheet. Okay, now you have 20 products based on data. Right, now come back and now filter that based on this other data point or this piece. And then maybe by the 4th time, it's like, okay, now you have 4 products that are here. Which one would you go with? And that's where imagery, differentiation, all that aspect comes into. So it's absolutely, I agree, like it's a step process. Like,
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. And I like, those are little, like that's an action that you can take every day. That's sure. And I want to go back to what you were talking about before. There was a podcast that I was listening to when I first started my journey. It was The Amazing Seller. Scott Volker was the guy, and he ended every podcast with "Take action." Like that was his. And it's funny because we'll have conversations with people that are looking and researching ad automation software like Solozo, and they haven't even picked a product yet. And like you don't need to even have any concern about how the automation process of advertising works until you're much, much further down the road. So like, I think it's interesting that you get that middle ground. I think though, to keep moving forward in this conversation, is the struggle people have when they launch a new product is they don't have all the data that like you could provide, that if they've done their research right. And then they end up finding themselves in an ultra competitive niche they're competing with 500 other sellers of the exact same product who are all dropping their price, like a race to the bottom on price point. And they didn't plan or realize that we need thousands and thousands of dollars in our ad budget, to even make this a success. That's where the planning part highlights itself. It's like you didn't prepare properly for this.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, I think typically in those situations, they have all the data, but they haven't educated themselves in the right way to make the right decisions, right? It's the decision part of what do you do with the data. So that's fundamentally where and a lot of that is sometimes to do with personality, because, some personalities are like, hey, I get this idea of building a brand, a long play to building something that's going to give me delayed gratification in 2-3 years time, right? Versus someone who's like, I want instant gratification right now. I see this trend. I think I can make $1 million. I can take the easy way right now. Yeah, I'll use whatever way to get there. And those are the people that find themselves in a bad situation. And if there's any lesson to take out of this, if you can figure out how to plan for and get delayed gratification in any aspect of your life, you're onto something great, because that's the way to plan your life and to plan your business is understand that the gratification is going to come down the road. And that Amazon, the gratification is probably 2.5 years out, probably when you sell that first business. Right? So that's what you got to plan for. But that in a lifespan is just a drop in the ocean. So I think hopefully I was answering the question. I think my mind was going somewhere else, but I hope I answered it.
Well, let's go a little bit on the scaling side. So we got a product, we're live, we all got products. How do you know when to launch a new one? How do you know when it's time to, go to a different product? What kind of things, in your opinion, do you need to look at as a seller before you launch that new product or an additional product?
Yeah. There's so many ways to tackle that. I would say when someone's picking a product, just to go to that for a second, one of the first things, if people are looking at 2 different products, the very first question I'll ask them is like, well, who's your supplier and what else do they have in their pipeline that you could launch on Amazon, right? Because that's the trickiest thing, is finding a great supplier and launching additional products. And if you can go to someone, furniture is like a great example. Hey, I went and I launched, a hat stand, and then after that I launched a coat stand, and then I launched like a rack on the wall. But they have all of those products, so it's just a matter of kind of executing with that partner and getting more live, right? So that's one really easy way to success, is working with the same partner and launching additional products. But I think in terms of when do you scale and how do you scale, I think number one, you have to have consistent success with your current product, or if not, drop that, right? So let's say, I would say if you're getting into a position where with one product, you're starting to see consistent numbers, you've got enough kind of cash to continue to fuel that brand, and then you start with a second product and a third product. I think that's the first step, right? Is staying in your marketplace and then launching 2 or 3 or 4 products. One, that's obviously going to help you scale, but 2, it's also diversifying your risk, right? If one product goes down, you have other ones there that you can rely on. So, I would say that's one part. In that process, I think there's also the ability to bring in a second supplier or manufacturer. That's an important milestone. And then I think it's probably about like hiring your first couple of VAs to really start to run parts of your business, whether it's working with, an agency or someone who's just running your PPC with Solozo, whatever those are. There's different steps to kind of hitting the scale of your business. And then probably the step after that is maybe looking at another marketplace, because marketplaces give you scale, but it brings you a whole bunch of other problems that if you're not truly entrenched in your Amazon business or have some people to really focus on key things like inventory, etc., you might be doing that too soon. So you've got to step that out and just make sure that you are consistent in the way you scale and not moving too quickly.
I love that first step, the additional products from the same supplier. Why is that important? Because I don't know, we know, but like in your opinion, why would you not want to go to another supplier? Why stay with one supplier the whole time? Or not the whole time. I guess stay with that supplier to get additional products.
Well, I just applied it to my own experience, right? Is like you spend all that time and effort finding a supplier, a good manufacturer, you launch your product, you start doing well with that, and you have a focus on trying to grow that brand. But it's you don't want to take your foot off the gas in terms of starting to find the next product and lining your pipeline. And again, it's just like, what is the quickest way to get there in the most efficient way without obstacles in your way? Finding another really good supplier is a process, and that's an obstacle in your way. So if you can find a supplier who's like, great, I've got a relationship with you already. Yes, let's do another product. I know you're doing well with the first one. Let's do the second one. It just gets you further along the path just to creating a scalable business. So it just helps the momentum to continue.
I love that. I think we forget that sometimes, because you hit right on the head there. Trying to build a new relationship with a supplier, getting new samples, learning their lingo, learning the terms. That is a process. But if you've already got it dialed in with one, it's just rinse and repeat. Just keep it moving.
Yeah, and one note on that, but just understand that with your manufacturer, especially if it's based in China, they're going to give you a horrible price for the first time you order stock from them, right? And just know they're going to do that, but don't corner them where it makes them sound like they lied if they gave you a horrible price, because you know that you're going to get improvements on that. So just make sure they understand, hey, I know this is the first price. Yes, we're going to go with this, but hopefully we can negotiate down the road. Give them an out so they don't feel like they're cornered where they can't actually come on and say, hey, we're going to give you a better price, because that's happened to me a few times. So
yeah, you hear stories, people talking, hard negotiating with a supplier on their first order. That's not even that's below the minimum order quantity anyway, and it's they don't know you yet. I mean, if you just order it, start selling it, the relationship's going to get better as you sell, and the price is for sure going to come down. That's a really good point. I think that's a stumbling block for a lot of people.
And also flipping that. I've told people as well, why go to your brand new manufacturer who you don't know and feel like you're the king and you can demand whatever, grind them on price, when they've got 1,000 other awesome suppliers, and they're just trying to do you a solid and do you a favor because they think maybe you have potential. But why don't you flip that around on them and be like, okay, you're going to charge me $1 for this product. What happens if I give you $1.50? What else can you guys do for me to make this amazing, right? And I'll give you a little bit more. I know we're just starting, but what else can you do? And it blows their minds. I'll come back to you with 10 other different ideas of how you can improve your product for that price. That might make the difference between being a great product or a mediocre product, right? So it's a long-term relationship there. So just tell them you'll give them more money and see what they come back with, and you'll
now
be surprised.
that's a great tip. And I like how I'll test that out next time I have a conversation, because that's how they know they're making these products. They know like the research and development that's going on and like product improvements. So you could, if you did that strategy, come out with like the next best thing, the new iteration of it.
Yeah, and especially coming out of, if China is your manufacturers, just culturally, they're not necessarily always proactive with like, hey, the latest and greatest. You have to ask, And if you ask, you don't get. And it's the same thing as like when you look at their catalog, you're like, hey, great. If you don't say, hey, what's the latest greatest coming up? What do you have that's not on the catalog? As soon as you say it, they have another 10,000 things that you could be looking at. So you've got to ask, and you'll be really very pleasantly surprised by how much they know and how much they can help you to be better.
So let's talk now about the steps that you, or the data inputs that you're looking for when you're researching new products. So when you're trying to find like a niche, because the goal, that's what I'm hearing from you, is the goal is to find a niche that has shoppers, but there's still opportunity to provide that product to them. It's not oversaturated or anything like that. So when you're going through your data points, what are the things that you're looking for to find that ideal product? I mean, is it like keyword search volume, sales velocity of competing products, number of competing products? Where do you find what metrics create the perfect environment?
Yeah, so when we looked at solving this originally, we were like, okay, well, what, from a business perspective, what are the things we need to know to make a decision, right? And it kind of boils down to 4 main points. One is there volume? Is there demand for this type of category, right? Because if we're on Amazon, we want to make sure that people are searching at a keyword level. They're kind of searching for this kind of product. So number one is like, how much demand is there? Too much, little, that's the first question. Now there's a bunch of data points that go into figuring out how much demand. That's obviously search volume, keywords, depth of keywords, revenue, sales. There's a whole bunch that kind of go into demand. So that's the first one. The second one is kind of capital. How much? Competition. So I would say competition is next, right? So how much competition is there? A lot, little. What does that look like? Again, that's going to be key data points like how many EBC are in there? How much are they spending on PPC? What's the depth of the sales for products in around the competitive area? Reviews, seasonality, how long they've been on Amazon, how seasoned are the listings? There's a whole bunch that go into that, right? But at a high level, it's like, what is the competition like? The third one is around budgets. How much capital do I need to launch a product? And that goes into play. It goes into sales velocity. Like how many sales do I need to do on a daily basis to be able to compete on page one, right? Because page one is what we're going for on specific keywords. So sales velocity, dollars from keyword. There's a whole bunch that go into that kind of launch budgets and saying, hey, do I need $100,000 to be able to compete on page one, or do I need $10,000, right? So what is your balance there? And then the fourth one is margin. How much margin is going to be left over at the end of the day so I can truly build a scalable business? If I'm selling something for $2 and I end up with 10 cents, is that okay? Fine, I might be at a good profit on 10 cents. To say it's whatever, 30 cents, right? Or 60 cents on $2. So yeah, I might have a 30% margin, but have I got enough sales velocity? Is there so much sales that I can actually create a decent amount of money at the end of the day that I can invest back into grow the business, right? So that balance between we call it kind of revenue and profitability, which is like, can I actually build a business that I can truly scale, comes into play. Or is it a price point of $60 and I make 20% on that? We now really got like some meat left over that I can truly use to scale my business. So those are fundamentally the 4 things. We have a thing called the niche rater, which will give you a rating on all of those. And there's hundreds of data points that go into that. Listing scores, there's a whole bunch. But at the end of the day, if I can balance those out, and some of them I might want to take, for launch budget, I might want to go a little higher. Some I might want to scale down, but it's kind of like understanding fundamentally what are the core data points across this, and then say, yes, I'm interested in going into this market or not. And then again, the fifth data point on that is differentiation, which is the most important of all, right? But it is the fifth, it is the last. You have to have those data points first. And that's where your softer business skills come in, is like, how do I differentiate that? How do I differentiate importantly without overcapitalizing the product, where I put in so much of my cost of goods that I'm outpricing myself. So there's a lot that goes into that differentiation, but that is the fifth point in order to be successful. So that's kind of how we look at it.
You mentioned one tool already, Niche Raider, just briefly there, but you have a whole suite of tools inside ZonGuru. In your opinion, you're the CEO of the company. Which one of these tools is like the one you hang your hat on? Like, yes, this is what makes us different from all the other tools out there. This is our main bread and butter option inside ZonGuru.
Yeah, it becomes tough sometimes because you have such a diverse set of tools. But I would say that anybody who's a seller who uses ZonGuru, the consistent feedback we get is, you guys show your data in such a more relevant way that we see opportunity on ZonGuru that we don't see with other tools, right? And that's probably the best feedback we can get. And I think what that boils down to is consuming the data, but then filtering that for relevancy, because there's so many data points out there. We need to make sure it's relevant, and then visualizing in a way that makes it simple to make a decision. Our niche radar and our niche tool is absolutely hands down the best in the space. And it's also because we base it on a keyword approach, which is important. But if I had to hang my hat on a tool, it would be our tool called Keywords on Fire. It's our keyword tool and our listing optimization tool that goes with that. We constantly get feedback. It's best in class. And I think it's like, we approached creating that tool with the idea of context, right? And context is so important in anything, but especially on Amazon, which is not just like, hey, here's the search volume for this keyword, right? You put in your listing, but it's like, if there's a lot of search volume, right? How many competitors are focused on that keyword? How many competitors in your data set are not focused on that keyword? If we go a little bit deeper, are there keywords that maybe have a little less volume or search volume, but are way less competitive? There's not a high level of competition. Could you focus in on that to really beat your competition? So, in our tool set for Keywords on Fire, we give that contextual view, which is like, here's the best, most relevant keywords. Here's a whole bunch of data points, but you also look at competition context. Where are they focusing? Where are they're not focusing? What are the keywords we should really create a launch strategy around? That we can add PPC to, or whatever, that we can truly win on, and then putting that into your listing optimization tool, which is, we were the first of anyone in the space to give you context of like, how does your listing with the best keywords compare to your top 10 competitors? Where are they optimizing for? How do you beat them? How do you walk out at the end of this and say, I have the best optimized listing on page one for my product? And with our tool, we can do that. So that tool in itself is one that we truly showcases kind of the intellectual smarts of our team in the developer side and product side, and what they can do for you on your listing.
Dustin and I got an account. We have our onboarding / demo call, I guess, tomorrow. So we're excited to dig in it. Going a little bit further, what do you see for ZonGuru? What's a new feature or something that you can kind of tease here that's coming out in 2022 later this year?
Yeah, I think part of our kind of roadmap is as the marketplace becomes more and more sophisticated and seasoned, I would say, and with ZonGuru being around as long as it has been, we have a huge data set of data, and it's about how do we use that data to visualize it in different ways. And I think one of the great things is kind of reporting, right? And looking at niches and trend projecting, right? I think that's a little bit more of a sophisticated user, but that's certainly an area that we're looking at. That's on the horizon. I think more improved tools. There's only a certain, there's certain kind of pivotal areas of your business as an Amazon seller that you need solved, and we solve them as an all-in-one tool set, but always going back and improving that and seeing how we can make them better and better is definitely a focus for us. And then further market integration. You know, we're now, as I said, integrated with those core markets: Europe, Australia, India, and North America, and being able to see the data points across those marketplaces and what we can do with that is pretty cool. Because I think, you know, that idea of saying, hey, you know, the only marketplace to launch in is Amazon.com is past, right? There's so much opportunity in some of these new marketplaces, and that's what's awesome about Amazon is like they're going into these new marketplaces, but they are demons at like literally crushing any competition from a retail e-commerce perspective, because they launch Amazon Prime, they build in these distribution networks, and no one can compete. They just completely, you know, they go in there and they dominate that marketplace. And that's what they're doing, especially like Australia, now India, you know, the UAE. There's all these new markets. What's really cool about that is that they are viable because of the shift to e-commerce. Like there's genuinely 7-figure and multi-7-figure businesses in those markets right now that are just absolutely crushing it. We've got people on our team that just launched in Amazon Australia, and they're like, this is like going back to 2016. It's so easy, you know, and I launched a product in this way, and I made a couple of mistakes, but I'm still the number one bestseller in this product category, and I'm just crushing it. And my product on Amazon.com is way more competitive, you know, and even there, I'm finding I have to put in a lot more effort to do as well as I'm doing in these markets. So there's major opportunity on some of those markets. And for those people who are listening, I think that question up front of like, which is the right marketplace to launch in? How do I use the niche rate or whatever to figure out what is the right market for this type of product to go into? There's a lot more data points and decisions to be made there, and it's easier to go into other marketplaces than ever, right? So I think that's something worth looking at. So many people right now are like, oh yeah, Walmart, you know, that's the flavor of the week. Let's get into that. But it's like, you know, Amazon, there's many markets out there, and there's a lot of opportunity in some of those marketplaces. So look at that as well.
I love it. And just, I think to note, because it goes back to the way we started this conversation. Yeah, you can do product research on your own. I mean, you can go out there and just start look around, see if there's something you want to sell. But without software and without the tools and with all that knowledge, how are you going to find out search volume? How are you going to find out how many competitors? How are you going to find out how much how much revenue is coming in to validate your idea? And I think that's the whole point of this. You're finding things and validating them before launching, so that you can take as low risk as possible with the amount of knowledge you have. And I encourage everyone, if you're not using anything, or if you want to try something else out, go try out ZonGuru right now, man. I'm excited to start using it. I'm super pumped. You don't know this yet, but we're going to do a product launch video series, and we're bringing you on to help us pick the product. Hopefully. We're making that decision for you. You're coming on. You're joining us. It'll be a lot of fun. So how can anybody out there, if they want to try ZonGuru, what steps do they need to take?
Look, I think the first thing is obviously a free trial. Sign up, check it out. I mean, I think and actually I think there's a Black Friday special on right now, so you can get in at a pretty low cost for your first month just to try it out and see the tools that you like. There's, you know, we've done a pretty good job on helping to provide some of that education and that training around your business. We have, once you sign up with ZonGuru, we have weekly live training sessions with our trainers who are sellers, covering any topic. You can talk to them. There's massive resources there. We have challenges, product research challenges. Again, going to that point of saying, hey, what is the incremental one thing I need to do today over the next few days, rather than trying to do it all at once. Like, we really break it down for you just to help you get that momentum. So there's a bunch of stuff there that once you sign up, you'll get access to, and support will help you and give you all the training around it. So that's what I would say is the best way, is just literally sign up, and within that 7 days, get access to that training, and check it out, and then make your decision from there. But that's the best way. Again, if you go to our blog, or if you go to our Instagram channel, there's plenty of good value that we provide there to help you with your journey. At the end of the day, we're obviously passionate about helping sellers. So I think you'll see that in addition to the tools, because tools, again, are anybody who's not successful on Amazon. It's not because they relied on the data, because the data is a guide. It's that they didn't necessarily have the right kind of education, or they made some mistakes in applying that data to their decisions. So we give the data, but we also give the education around that to make sure that you're making the right decisions with the data. That's really important.
Sounds like a no-brainer. Everyone who's listening, you'd go to ZonGuru.com and get started with that free trial. Jon, thanks so much for coming on. We'll do this again. There's so much to talk about. We're very excited about getting into the tool and using it. I really like what I see. The badges, that's cool. So it's like, I mean, it's almost like taking them down. It's a good way to track actionable steps. Earn your badge for the next thing. I like that. So yeah, everyone go check out ZonGuru, and we'll have Jon back on again to talk about all the new stuff that's happening in the space. So thanks for coming on. Thanks everybody for listening. If you like content like this, if you like to be able to listen in and hear cool, amazing people like Jon talk about what's coming down the pipe in the e-commerce space, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. You can also see the live streams on Solozo's Facebook page, Solozo's YouTube channel, and our LinkedIn page. So you can like those pages as well. Turn on notifications so you get notified when we go live. And also, if you are struggling with your PPC on Amazon, or you would like to have help with it or automate that process, we are here for you. You can go to Solozo.com and you can book a demo. You'll get either Kris or myself. We'll talk to you about anything you want, and we'll also show you how Solozo can help automate your strategy for PPC for success on your next product launch. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, Jon. We will see you all next time.